Sometimes the most shocking secrets are hidden right next door. It started as a simple feeling of unease, a sense that something wasn't right in my neighbor's life. Little gestures, strange routines, and subtle interactions caught my attention, but nobody else seemed to notice. What began as curiosity soon turned into an obsession to uncover the truth. I realized that what I was about to discover would change not only my perception of him, but also the lives of everyone involved. A secret this deep has consequences, and every detail I witnessed was a step closer to a revelation nobody expected. This is the story of betrayal, deception, and the shocking truth hiding behind closed doors. It all started with a small feeling of unease. At first I couldn't quite explain why, but something about my neighbor's behavior seemed off. The way he hid his phone, the sudden disappearances, and the secretive glances exchanged with his sister-in-law made me uneasy. I noticed that his smiles never reached his eyes when his wife was around, and there was a tension in the air that I couldn't ignore. Every day little details added up, creating a pattern too clear to be just a coincidence. From overheard whispers to subtle gestures, the signs were all there, but nobody seemed to notice. It was as if a secret invisible to everyone else had been floating in the neighborhood, waiting for the right moment to surface. I started observing more carefully, pretending it was casual curiosity, but inside, I felt the weight of something bigger. His wife, oblivious, continued her daily routine, unaware of the storm brewing right in front of her. The sister-in-law's presence in his house suddenly seemed less innocent, her visits longer and filled with laughter that didn't fit the context. Every encounter, every subtle movement, was a piece of the puzzle that slowly I began to put together. It was like watching a thriller unfold in real life, a story that nobody else seemed ready to accept. The tension was building, and I knew that the next steps would be decisive. The more I observed, the more details started to make sense. Late-night lights in his house, the sudden excuses, the small lies carefully hidden between ordinary conversations. Every step he took left traces, and every interaction with his sister-in-law hinted at something forbidden. She laughed at jokes no one else would understand, and he looked at her in ways that crossed boundaries no one should cross within a family. Meanwhile, his wife remained unaware, trusting, convinced of the loyalty she believed in. I realized that in cases like this, the truth doesn't reveal itself overnight. It is built slowly, through habits, inconsistencies, and hidden glances. Sometimes I would catch a conversation fragment that didn't make sense, or see a message that was quickly deleted. Each small clue added to the growing picture of betrayal, and yet, the cleverness of those involved made it seem almost untouchable. The house, once a symbol of normalcy, had become a stage where secrets danced silently, leaving only hints for those watching closely. It was at that point that I knew. The truth, when hidden for long enough, can become explosive, and when it finally emerges, it changes everything. I couldn't ignore it any longer. One evening, I happened to be walking past his house and noticed something unusual. The sister-in-law was inside, and their interaction was intimate enough that there was no doubt. A casual observer might have missed it, but after weeks of noticing patterns, I could read between the lines. The tension in the air, the laughs too long, the gestures too personal, it all confirmed my suspicions. I realized that secrets this big don't survive in silence forever. The moment was shocking but also clarifying. Everything I had suspected suddenly became undeniable. The realization weighed heavily on me because now I had a choice: confront, ignore, or watch. And in watching, I understood the fragility of trust and how betrayal can quietly grow under the surface of ordinary life. The house that once symbolized harmony now hid lies, and every detail I had observed pointed to a single, undeniable truth. One night, everything changed. I accidentally witnessed them together, alone in a room that should have been private, sharing more than words. The intimacy was undeniable, and I realized there was no room for misunderstanding. The secret had moved from small gestures to explicit proof. At that moment, I felt the weight of the situation, because this was no longer about suspicion. It was reality. Every laugh, every touch, and every glance confirmed the betrayal that no one else knew. It was also a turning point for me. Observing the truth didn't make it easier. It intensified the tension. I now had knowledge that could destroy lives, and I had to decide how to handle it. Each decision I considered carried consequences, because the longer a secret like this stays hidden, the bigger the impact when it is revealed. That night I understood that secrets have a life of their own, and will eventually demand exposure. After confirming what was happening, I knew I had to be careful. Every observation had to be precise and every moment documented mentally. It wasn't about spying for curiosity. It was about understanding the scale of the betrayal. I began noticing patterns in their routine, identifying times when they would meet, and seeing how the web of lies extended. The house became a theater, and every detail, no matter how small, was a piece of evidence. I realized that exposing such a secret required more than raw information. It required timing. The impact would be enormous and the consequences unpredictable. It was no longer about what I wanted, but about what needed to be revealed to prevent further damage. The stakes were higher than ever, and every move had to be calculated. There were moments when I thought they might notice my observations, glances that seemed to look directly at me, subtle adjustments in behavior, and sudden disappearances made me feel the tension physically. The risk of being discovered added urgency and intensity to the situation. I had to stay calm, blending into the background while witnessing moments that could unravel a family. Each close call reminded me of the fragility of secrets and the power they hold when exposed. It became clear that the longer a secret is kept, the more dangerous it becomes. Even the smallest slip can ignite a chain reaction that cannot be stopped. And in that tension, I realized that I was now part of a story that could explode at any moment. A story no one could ignore. The inevitable finally happened. One afternoon, the wife returned home unexpectedly and discovered them together. The moment was immediate, explosive, and irreversible. Her shock turned to anger, her anger to confrontation. There was no explanation that could undo the betrayal, and the silence in the house spoke louder than any words could. The neighbor tried to justify himself, but his attempts were futile. The sister-in-law's guilt was visible in every gesture, and the wife's pain was undeniable. Children witnessed confusion, neighbors witnessed whispers, and the truth, once hidden, now ruled over everyone. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. The neighbor's reputation was shattered, the sister-in-law's presence caused discomfort, and the wife struggled to rebuild her life. Everyone watched, judged, and commented. Simple routines became challenges. The betrayal, exposed to everyone, affected not only the family, but the entire community. The consequences of their actions were immediate and far-reaching, altering relationships and social dynamics. Days turned into weeks, and the aftermath became a reality everyone had to face. The wife focused on her children and her life, avoiding unnecessary contact. The neighbor and sister-in-law faced isolation, shame, and judgment. Every public appearance was tense, every encounter a reminder of what had been lost. The neighborhood, now fully aware, played a role in amplifying the pressure. Life, once predictable, was fractured, and every decision carried potential new consequences. The chaos of betrayal had transformed ordinary life into a daily challenge. Time passed, but the impact remained. The wife began to rebuild, prioritizing stability and children. The neighbor and sister-in-law faced ostracism and lingering guilt. The neighborhood continued to observe, and the story, though partially resolved, left permanent scars. This case proved that hidden truths eventually emerge, and when they do, they leave lives forever changed. Even at the end, unanswered questions and subtle secrets remained, hinting that the story was far from over, setting the stage for the next chapter of revelations and consequences. After following every twist of this story, it's clear that life can change in seconds when secrets are kept and trust is broken. The wife, devastated, had to rebuild her routine and protect what mattered most, her children. The neighbor and the sister-in-law faced not only guilt, but also social judgment, learning the harsh reality that some choices bring irreversible consequences. The neighborhood, once a passive observer, became a silent witness, proving that every action, no matter how small, has a ripple effect on others. This case shows that the truth, no matter how well hidden, eventually emerges, changing lives and relationships in profound ways. And even though this chapter is ending, the story isn't over. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into unexpected consequences, how the family copes with long-term trauma, who truly manages to recover, and what hidden secrets are still waiting to surface. You won't want to miss the shocking details that emerge when the dust finally settles, revealing truths that could forever change how we see trust, betrayal, and family secrets. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank each and every one of you who follows this channel. Your support, comments, likes, and messages make it possible to bring stories as intense and captivating as this one. And if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any videos. Here you'll find shocking real-life stories and content that keeps you hooked from start to finish. Every subscription makes a huge difference and helps us continue sharing stories that leave everyone speechless. So if you're not part of our community yet, click subscribe now and join us in experiencing every twist and revelation firsthand.